Good morning, guys. How y'all doing? Here's on Facebook. I see a couple of me. Some new filter I found on Facebook. It's pretty cool. Very funny. All right, so today's article, we're going to talk about the things you remember best happen when you're between 15 and 25. This is by Scott White. Let's see what Scott has to say today. Ask people about memorable things or events that happened during their lives, and their recollections tend to be from between the ages of 15 and 25. Do you guys agree on this? Let me know in the comments. See what you say. It doesn't matter if it's current affairs, sporting, or public events. It can be Oscar winners, hit records, books, or personal memories. We researched in the science of memory call this 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 the reminiscent bump. This is called the reminiscent bump. In reference to the shape it gives when we plot a curve of memories over a person's lifespan. It is one of those rare effects in cognitive psychology that is not contested. Cool. We have given up researching whether it exists and began asking why. Neurological accounts propose that there is something about the brain maturing that leads to information we encounter in this period being particularly well encoded. Some researchers propose we are better at recalling first-time experiences like a first kiss, first driving lesson, and so on, most of which tend to happen at that age. Others suggest the reminiscent bump is part of a cultural defined period in our lives in which key experiences occur and are then shared and discussed. Cool. You guys like this article? Let me know. I think it's kind of neat to recall our old memories. Carrying on here. Our own research has suggested something different, that it arises because this is the period when we lay down memories and store information that will define who we are for the rest of our lives. The crystallization of the self in memory, if you like, we set out to test whether this was correct. In pursuit of the bump, unlike most previous research, we didn't want to rely on memory tests. The trouble with memory tests is that our theory is that, by definition, what people recall is personally significant to them. You wouldn't experience otherwise. People don't recall random events and struggle to recall or even pay attention to unimportant information. Since we are bound to care about the things that shape us, of course we remember them. Yeah. You might try to get around this by asking participants to recall events or songs that meant nothing to them. But the problem is that whenever they remember couldn't have been completely irrelevant to them, even if that thing stuck in their mind precisely because it meant nothing to the person. This sort of defines who you are. Anyway, sorry, missed that one. We wanted to avoid this circularity. Our approach was to use another classic measure from the memory researchers' canon, which was being used less in this particular area, recognition. Instead of asking participants to freely recall material, we asked them to pick out Oscar-winning films or top-selling music singles that they remembered from a list of releases between 1950 and 2005. Basing our information on either when they first remembered experiencing the film, song, or their age when it was released, we found clear evidence of a bias towards associations between the ages of 15 and 25. We also asked participants to select their 5 favorites from the list, which was the real novelty in our study. It meant we could plot a curve over participants' lifetime to see if the proportion of films, songs they remembered from the age of 15 to 25 that they didn't care about was as high as the proportion from the age on their favorites list. If non-personality significant films, songs gave a reminiscent bump shape too, we could give up on our theory that the development of self was explanation and go back to it being about memory. Interesting. We found that when it came to film songs that participants didn't favor, they were no more likely to recognize them from their 15 to 25 period than any other time in their lives. To make sure it, in a second study in the same paper, we asked them both about which songs were their favorites and which songs they remembered. Something about even then we got the same result. Self-indulgence, our findings suggest that the reason people remember more from that critical time in their lives is indeed because it is when their identities are forming. Things we encounter that are not relevant to our identity are simply forgotten. Our taste and exposure to events, information, and media in this time period defines us for the rest of our lives. This doesn't necessarily mean that the theories about reminiscence being linked to people's memory, development, or cultural experience are irrelevant. There is still a question of why certain things become personally significant to us, and those theories might still provide answers here. We may have culturally shared views of what's likable or important, or we may rely on memory mechanisms to retain our sense of self. What can we say what we can say is that the personal significance of something to us is a key ingredient to why we experience the reminiscent bump. Another avenue to explore is films or songs or other memories that we feel strongly about but don't like. We still need we still need to do research on whether these things follow the same 15 to 25-year-old rule, even though they don't define us. For now, however, at least we're a step closer to understanding how this whole process works. Songs, films, or books or events from our younger years that matter to us are likely to be companions for life, and we may even form part of the tapestry of who we are. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that article. It was kind of neat to reminisce about our old memories and how they define us. Let me know if you guys have any memories that you remember from that period as well. Yeah, this time I was a martial artist, so I remember a lot about that. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, and hope you are positive and happy.